it's lovely because this is the first time my nieces are able to see me in anything.
Yeah.
Because there's a 12A, so my sisters are taking them because they're 11 and 8, and it's soon to be 9. There's a 12A. They can't watch Peaky Blinders. They can't watch The Witcher. Like all of the stuff that I'm in is very violent and very gory. And
Yeah.
it's like we can watch Uncle Paul in this, and they've been telling everyone at school that they're watching this evening.
Oh.
And you know, it's going to for them like it's just they didn't really understand what Uncle Paul does because they've not been able to see any of it. So now they get to
and now
see
they
me
think he's a Marine.
Yeah, now they're going to think they're going to think I'm a Marine, and they're going to say why is he speaking with that accent.
Welcome to another spoiler review episode.
Welcome back and to season 2 of Ragewell, kicking it off with special guest Paul Bullion, who we all just watched in the new Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning movie at the cinema. This episode, we talk about behind the scenes of Paul's experience on this juggernaut of a movie, the film sets, the stunts, hanging out with Tom Cruise and learning from the best. We talk about 80s movies and end on a Mission Impossible quiz. This was a really fun episode, and Paul is an absolute gent for giving up his time for us. We hope you enjoy. Welcome back to another spoiler review episode, and this is a particularly special one because we have Paul Bullion returning, the man who is in Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning. So, Paul, your mission, if you choose to accept it, is to spill the beans on your experience in Mission Impossible 8. How does it feel to be part of one of the biggest action franchises with the greatest movie action star ever in history?
Well, it's really hit home this week, I think, with the release of the film. I've had people I haven't spoken to in 20 years messaging me. You realise just, how far and wide a film like this and a franchise like this reaches. Even my landlord from 8 years ago messaged me.
No way.
The last time he messaged me was when he was telling me he was coming around to collect rent, because he used to collect the rent in cash. And I think he messaged me in 2017, and then he just messaged me again to say congratulations on the film because he'd just been to the cinema with his family. So so you just realise that it does really hold something with a lot of people. It's a real honour to be frank about it. Yeah.
I saw you put up on social media the other day on your stories, like, sorry guys, I have seen lots of your messages, I'll get back to you soon, because you're probably getting inundated, man.
Yeah, it's I don't always check my DMs, but there's been a few of them, and then obviously phone numbers that I've lost over the years when I get new phones before you could back them up on various clouds. Just messages from people I went to school with, and obviously drama school. I'm still in contact with a lot of drama school friends, but like secondary school, primary school. Somebody I haven't spoken to or haven't seen since I left year 11. 21 years ago. Who went to see it with another friend of mine, and we used to play football together for our local town. And it was really nice to reconnect with people because they just remember me wanting to be an actor at school, So that was quite a nice full circle moment when you realise that although you've been doing it for many, many years, like I say, a film and a franchise like that reaches a lot of people. So people do see that you've kind of achieved something you aimed for.
Was there any enemies that got in touch with you? Like people that are like, "You're gonna do nothing, mate. Like you ain't gonna be nowhere." And they're like, "Paul, I just wanted to say, really enjoyed you in that."
No. Well, if I ever bump into my old French teacher, there might be that. I mean, I don't know. My old French teacher from it's a silly story, but I remember it because I didn't do anything wrong. I was in year 10 and we were doing a classic school production of Grease. And it was the first time that a lot of my schoolmates had seen me do anything. They knew I did drama outside of school, like Amdram stuff and classes and things. But it's the first time I did something in front of them. And I was in my comfort zone. I loved it, expressing myself on stage. And we did the first night of Greece, and then we had lessons the next day. Going to French class, and people were saying, "Oh, Paul, well done! Like, we thought you were great." And then I was like, "Oh, thank you." I was quite shy by it all, really, because it was the first time, I was an in-betweener, very much an in-betweener at school as well. Did sport, but also did dance and performing arts. So I was kind of walking that social rope, as it were. So I was a little bit nervous about all my friends seeing me in a musical, and they were congratulating me. And the French teacher went, "Well, you're not a star in my eyes, Mr. Bullion. Sit down." I was like, "Whoa!" I wasn't even late. I turned up. I'd done my homework, but I think she didn't like the distraction. So I was like, "Okay." So maybe she went to see the film. I don't know.
That'd be awesome, though. I think I'd be amazed to see her face, which is like,
I don't know.
from my
Yeah.
friend.
Well, no, hopefully she's seen it with maybe dubbed in French, and then she could think that was me.
His French is amazing.
Wow. I'm glad I was hard on him.
It does sound like a jealousy thing, just like, oh, this guy's getting attention, I better like calm him down type thing. But
well, I mean, to be fair, it was a French class. We weren't there to review the school's production of Grease, but
at least
Sorry to interrupt the show. Just a reminder to say we love and appreciate you all for listening to the podcast, whether it's on Spotify, Apple, or Amazon. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, follow, as this really helps us continue to progress and improve the content and keeps us making these fun episodes for you guys. Oh, we're also on these things called Instagram and TikTok. You can follow us there too, as we share short, funny reels on the reg that you can share with friends if you like. Now, back to the mayhem.
that's a weird thing about school, isn't it? Especially when you're in different groups and you're like really sporty, but you like drama. It's quite often a very different group of people and kind of straddling the social elements of that.
It was really interesting because I found in school I really got on well with like the history teachers, because often you're discussing human behavior and social behavior through the years. English, because you're talking about often great books and novels and plays and language, and then obviously drama and kind of creative things, and then you've got the other side, which is like stuff you just kind of have to learn. So yeah, it's a weird mix.
I remember when I was doing ballet and stuff, that when you start to do dance and stuff like that, it's that kind of revealing.
Ballet.
Yeah, I did do ballet. Yeah. I think Paul did ballet as well. We were talking about how good it is for your posture.
So did Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Well, there you go. Yeah. Some of the best people do ballet, man. And I just remember being in the pub and someone was like asking about some of the classes you do, and I remember trying to say like the manly ones, and then I had a few drinks. I was like, yeah, and I quite enjoy ballet, man. And they're like, what? I was like,
Well, but the strength that you get from it, and I can say I think I studied ballet for like 5 years so I did 2 years at college and then 3 years at drama school, and it was full on. I did like 5 hours a week when I was at Arts Ed, and over that really, and that was on top of all of the jazz and the pas de deux, and you build so much strength and flexibility, and you understand your body a lot more, and posture and everything. So it's definitely helped me as an actor in terms of understanding my body.
Mate,
no end really.
100%.
I tell you what, before you came on, well, me, James, and Drew have been messaging each other the last few days. The amount of excitement we got when your face appeared, like I went to see it at the IMAX to see the film, and I knew you were in the submarine scene somewhere. And when we got to a bit of water, I was like, where is he? Where is he? Where is he? I was just hunting for you. Again, we didn't know how much you were in the film.
Yeah.
You might have just appeared at the window for a second. So I was like eagle-eyed. And I went with my my partner. And as soon as you appeared, I was like, I just nudged her. I was like, that's him. That's him. And she was like,
Kev had his own chicken jockey moment. Got thrown out of the cinema.
But it was.
It's got.
Cool.
I'd say it's up there. I'd say it is one of the coolest reveals I've ever had on screen by ripping that mask off.
Yeah, man.
In the submarine. Yeah.
How did you feel when you watched? Because you went to the premiere, right? In Leicester Square.
We had a cast and crew screening, and then a few days later we had the premiere. Yeah, which cast and crew screening was a lot more low key. You just turn up to a cinema. That they send you the location of, and then you were there, and it's really nice because you're sitting there with all the makeup artists and the rest of the cast and crew, and you kind of like celebrating the fact that it's all locked and it's the film's being delivered, and then we had the London premiere a few days later, which was again lovely, and just mad to see literally thousands of people that had flooded into Leicester Square, and that's when it kind of hit me. I went, oh yeah, this is a huge Mission Impossible film. Yeah, it was good. And
Mate,
I was going to say, seeing the face on IMAX, it's very, very confronting when you see your face like 30 foot tall. You can't help but analyze your performance.
I think it's going to look great in your show reel, bro. I was literally just imagining your show reel. You've got like Hardy, Cillian Murphy, Tom Cruise, and it's such a great scene as well because you're giving him information on how to successfully achieve what he needs to achieve, which is huge stakes, and you're giving him all
very much like that when I got that dialogue.
Yeah,
and it was changing daily.
Yeah.
And the American accent, I didn't expect that.
Oh,
I didn't expect you to have an accent. I was like, what? What's going on here?
So good. Your American's so good, dude.
Oh, mate, that's really kind. Yeah, I mean, I like to. I was obsessing over it, but it helped that I was basically every other actor in the scene was American, and there were, a lot of American kind of producers and director McHugh. So I was around the accent a lot, but I just kind of tuned into it, and obviously I did the work before I went on. But yeah, I really had to. I couldn't just work on the dialogue I was given because I know, how they work with the film, and if they think there's a change that can make the film better, then you try it a million different ways with a million different lines to try and drive it along, and also we had Marines on set, actual Marines to make sure we were doing things properly and that we were saying the right things. So obviously sometimes, that actually it'd be this depth and you need this long in a decompression chamber, and, just making sure that, led by Tom and McHugh, that the details are absolutely perfect so that you can't pick it apart and say, oh, well, within the world that's been created within Mission Impossible, you've got to make sure that the elements are believable, that if you are going to go to those depths, this could happen, that could happen, and you're going to need this long and that long, and it's making sure that you can get the audience on side with it. So that's why it was important to have those, I suppose, specialist people on set to make sure that you're doing things properly.
Well, that's it. When you filmed that, how long did it take you to do? You personally, how long were you on set? Was it for a few days, a few weeks, or?
All in all, I was about 5.5 weeks, but there was
that's a long time, isn't it?
But a couple of weeks of that was preparation of making sure I got signed off on the scuba stuff, because to achieve that shot of the chamber emptying of water, we obviously had to dive down into the tank with the gimbal in there. So they built the set in the gimbal and they submerge it into this huge, it's the biggest, I want to say biggest water tank in the world. It's almost certainly Europe. And they submerge the set into the water, and to make it look like the water's leaving the chamber, they basically lift the set out of the water with the camera rigged. So it's actually the set being lifted out of the water, but the effect you get is the water leaving the submarine. So we had to dive down. I think we went to like 15 meters down. So we had to do all the training of into the tank, learning how to clear the umbilical and all the gas, and clearing your goggles, equalizing when you go down, all of those things. We had obviously a medical to make sure that everything was good. And then we obviously had the rehearsal in the tank, learning the hand signals. That I think that's out there, isn't it? There's a video behind the scenes of McHugh and Tom talking about the hand signals. And that was a cool moment for me, was when, because regularly I'd see Tom just hold his breath for a couple of minutes, no problem. He would take a breath from the umbilical, pass it to the stuntman, get it out of shot, and he would lay there in fetal position on the floor. He would give me the thumbs up, and then I would face McHugh, give him the thumbs up, and then cameras would go and we'd go for the take. And he would just do that over and over. We had to do that. There's so many things that could go wrong in that shot. Like the moment you come out of water, we're wearing all these weighted belts to keep us down so we don't float away. And obviously the moment the water gets below those weights, there's a slight shunt because you feel the weight of your body. So you're trying to stay really still, and like that could ruin the shot because you're trying to look stoic, and then suddenly you're like, sorry, gonna have to do it again. But we had about 15 minutes per supply of air, basically, because then we had to then go and get our all our packs changed. So that obviously, just to achieve that shot was took a bit of time, and then all the stuff on the submarine was a couple of weeks, making sure we got all the coverage and the variation in dialogue, so we had things covered. And then I went back and did just a day of reshoots where, again, it was another variation of telling Ethan, what he should be doing down there, just so they had options in the edit.
How many takes do you get to do in a film like this? And is the director and Tom, are they famous for doing a certain amount, so they've got, like you said, options in the edit? Or
they certainly don't rush it for good reason. They want the best movie possible. So you get so many runs at it, so many runs, and this is what's so generous about Tom. And it sounds like it should be, the bread and butter of every actor, but it's not. Like, he is obviously such a massive, successful actor, and he'll be there behind the camera, when he's not, on screen, he'll be there giving you everything the whole time, giving you eyeline. And you'll get to a certain bit, and he'll be directing you alongside McHugh, and you'll get and again, you give them so many shades, so many colors, so they've got this massive palette of dialogue that they can go, okay, I like take 29 of that, but we can merge it into take 35 of that, so you don't have control of it, obviously, other than giving them so many options, which is your job as an actor. And I'd say that Tom's very generous to make sure that, it's been said before, but it's so true. He will make sure that he's giving you all the time and all of the coverage that you need, and then they'll flip the camera around, and he's a genius. He'll just he'll give it and he'll be very generous to make sure that you have all the coverage and the time that you need before it turns on to him.
Well, that's it. Like, I'm sure people know this by now, but not only is he a producer, but it is Tom Cruise Productions that is part of this. It's part of his business. So it's not just his baby, but it's everything to him, isn't it? He's over every aspect.
He's so much more than an actor.
Yeah.
So much more than an actor. He's and in every sense of the word, a filmmaker. He understands everything, and he did invite me to, again, like, I heard that there was this film school that he does, and he just approached me one day on set, and between takes he was like, I don't know if it's your thing, I've got this thing that I run for my mates, it's like a little film school, you learn about different lenses. And I was like, yeah, sounds great. I'm always, I'm not one to think that I know it all. I've been working for a long time, and I know the different shots that different lenses can achieve, but I'm going to learn a lot from somebody that's been doing it for 4 times the amount that I have. So of course it was I was like, yes, absolutely, where do I sign up? So and it was just a day of learning all these different lenses and examples of films that they were used on, and again, it just expanded my knowledge. And it kind of goes from being able to say, what shot are we going for here? I could ask what lens they're using, so in my head I know what the shot's going to look like, or I can have a guess, a more educated guess than what I had before. So yeah, it's this very generous man. I can, I've not really got, I can't say anything negative about him. He's one of the nicest, most generous men I've ever worked with.
Would you say that you can adapt your performance depending on the lens as well? There was that kind of story with I think it was Matt Damon. He was saying that he could tell depending on the lens where he needed to put himself, like he didn't need to do anything with his hand because it's a mid shot, or depending on where they're going to have the camera, it kind of changes your performance. Would you say?
Well, yeah, I mean, that's that's like knowing that, it's like acting inside the camera. You know where the shot is, how close it is, how much you need to give, how much you can pull back for when it is your, what they call the money shot, or the close up. You need the stamina, especially like in other projects I've been on where the emotion's very raw. You're not going to give it in the wide. You need to hold back. And yeah, I'd say again, like, it's the greatest. I've not learned more on any other job than the Mission. Like 5.5 weeks of like just a brilliant film school, I suppose. It was great. It's one thing to be in a scene with actors, like Tom and all the other actors that were in the scene as well. I learned a lot from everybody there.
Yeah.
But for him to be just pass on his knowledge, and watching him work was just incredible. He'll know what the DOP is going for. He'll go, okay, watch this, and they'll roll the cameras, and he'll know what they want, and he can like almost cheat himself so that the DOP doesn't have to do anything.
Wow.
Like, there was one moment where it was like, did he just like create a punch in without the DOP having to do anything? Did he? It was almost like, yeah, it was very clever, like how he positions himself. It's an art. It's an art, and and I'm a better actor, I think, for those 5 weeks on that project.
Well, I think a lot of actors, there's like a huge mix of actors, isn't there? Like ones that will just turn up and do as they're programmed to do in that scene. If they're, even huge actors, some of them these days, that will just turn up and read off cue cards, do the basic minimum, walk away. And you get the sense that Tom Cruise is probably clinically obsessed with movies to the point where he knows every aspect of it and can educate everyone on it, but integrally he knows everything and wants to keep doing it. Like in his downtime, it's going to be movie related. He doesn't do downtime, crochet. He's planning the next stupid stunt.
He never stops. He never stops, and it's a great example. I work hard. I don't mind saying that. I work really hard. I get up, 5:45 most mornings, even on my day off. I'll go swimming first thing in the morning. That's how I start my day. I work really hard. And when I'm not acting, making sure my mortgage is paid with other jobs, carpentry, whatever I've had to do over the years to pursue this career in acting. And then you turn up on set and you've got Tom Cruise still sprinting across the bridge at 2 a.m. or finishing a full day and then going to his pain cave to his gym to make sure he gets his workout in. And it's an example of like, where hard work can get you. Not, forget all the movie stardom and the amazing work that he's produced. Just him as a healthy human, by having that discipline. So I found myself like on days where, if I was getting picked up at 6:30 a.m., I'd be in the gym at 5:30, getting a quick half hour in before I get to set, because it's like, okay, I'm going to take that on. It's a very rich learning curve, that the project, and I'm very proud of it.
Mate, just off the back of that, I saw a really interesting kind of behind the scenes thing with Tom Cruise, and it was for the film Edge of Tomorrow. And they had to do a certain amount of takes with the military guys running around with Tom Cruise's character. So he decided, he's like, why don't we just loop it? And they were like, what? And he's like, I've got this idea. And he motivated every other member of the team, all the extras and everything. So they started doing laps. So every time it would come to the camera shot, they knew as they were coming around the corner, they'd shout action. So they were able to get so many takes of the harder scene with everyone, because Tom Cruise turned it into like a running like marathon.
Into a game,
It was just incredibly inspiring. And he was obviously leading from the front. And the fact that he's a slightly older man than some of the other younger kind of extras and stuff. And they're like, this guy's so inspiring. And they were all just running in circles, and they're able to get so many takes based on, like you're saying, his discipline and how he rallies everyone up. Like,
and that is what I will say. The start of each day, we might be going back to do, pick up on the same scene, and he's got a way of doing it. He will come around and make sure he says hello to everyone in the morning, and then just say that he saw the dailies, and he will just come up and he'll go, awesome work. And you're just like, and then you're pumped for the rest of the day.
Good leader, isn't it?
It was such a small thing. I can't remember who I saw in an interview the other day. So he was struggling. A really famous actor. I can't remember who it was. Said that he was struggling on set one day, and you could tell that the director was getting frustrated. And he said that one of his icons came up to him on set, and he was like, just so you know, you're really good at this. And that's all he needed to hear, because like we have imposter syndrome, but you don't have time to get imposter syndrome on Mission Impossible, because Tom's always just absolutely pumping you up all the time. So it's like you just go home feeling really, really great. So yeah, it was definitely a really positive experience for that.
And how is it working with Tramell Tillman as well? Because he was new to he was like a surprise in the new trailer. He wasn't in the original trailers, and obviously he's infamous from Severance, which has been a huge hit. But he seems like a really cool guy.
Oh, he's lovely, absolutely lovely. I met him on our first day. We started on the same day, obviously being on the Ohio, and that was for me, just such a mad experience, because I assumed wrongly that they were going to have a load of Brits playing the American Marines, because we're filming in Longcross, like just outside London. I turn up and it's like, oh, Katie O'Brien. I've just seen her in Twisters and Love Lies Bleeding, and she's playing Kodiak. And Stephen.
Yeah, she looks so different. Phil. Like, she's a shapeshifter. Every film she's in,
she's brilliant.
I have to IMDb her and go, I recognize her, but I don't know. And then you go, oh my god, completely different physique and everything as well.
Yeah, you'll be seeing her in so many more projects as well. She's rightfully very, very busy. She's an incredible woman.
She was an Obi-Wan as well. She was amazing in that. She only had a couple of episodes, but she stole it. I was like, wow, who is this?
She's absolutely incredible. She's absolutely incredible. She was in, I think for 7 years, I think it was. She was in the Indiana Police. She was a police officer. She was a bodybuilder, and then just killing it in the acting game. And she's so lovely and warm and helpful. And and then Tramell, I was like, oh, okay. And that was the interesting. We did a line run on the first day with Tom, and we all got rallied around. And I just looked around and I was like, okay, everybody is American. And it was that moment where it comes up to your first line, and like, Okay, here it comes, and Tom sat next to Tom on the sofa, and I'm
They're going to find
like,
me
"Ooh."
out.
And I was like, "Oh, here we go," and I did it, and then that was the first time that Tom just looked at me and went, "Awesome," and I was like, "Whew." I did the work with the dialect coach, of course, but you feel in those moments you're like, okay, well, I can't really blag. There's no way you can blag it there. It's like,
Did you stay in the American, or were you speaking English to everyone else and then just turned it on
Yeah, I
when
was,
you
I
needed
was just in
to?
my own accent to everyone, to everyone, and then when obviously the cameras were rolling, I'd kind of stay in it. But yeah, no, it was great because being around the sounds and the tuning of it, all day, really helps. Really does help, and that's the way to do it. I think if you've got an accent that isn't your own, and you've got a role coming up, if you can go and spend time there, or do what I do with my friends, and I get them to record my lines in the accent, or speak the lines to me in the accent. But obviously, it was a lot more helpful being surrounded by Americans on this. I remember when I did Peaky Blinders, I got my friend from Wolverhampton to to just say all my lines, and then we'd go for coffee, and then when I felt comfortable, I started to speak to him in his own accent. So it wasn't just the dialogue that I learned in the accent, because that otherwise that kind of locks you into how you deliver the lines. So then we'd literally, before we'd go and do our ushering shift, I'd go and sit and have coffee with him, and I'll just start talking to him like I was from that area, and then if he picked up on anything, he would say. But obviously, each time we met for coffee, it got easier. Yeah.
Where were all these sets anyway? Because you mentioned they're in England, and
Yeah.
you had the one that was submerged in the water. Was that a
Yeah.
complete different building for inside the submarine, or was
So it's all in
one section?
it's all just outside London. It was actually a 10-minute drive from where I was filming Witcher, which is the only reason we could really make it work, because I was actually engaged with Witcher at the time. And then what McHugh did, this made me like very grateful as well. He said, "It's all good. We can be flexible." And with their schedule, they worked it around The Witcher, so they got me in on the days that I weren't needed on set over there, which was like the only time it's happened in my career. But it was nice, and so they had because the tank's so big, that's in its own thing, its own hangar.
Yeah, I thought it
And
might
then
be.
and then not far from it, there's another hangar with all the dry, I call the dry sets. Yeah.
Were you wearing wetsuits in the dry set? Yeah, in the dry sets. Yeah.
Yeah, as well. Yeah. So you would, and they just kind of hose you down.
Yeah. You're used to that though, because remember that one we were saying for Jamaica Inn, hose him, hose him down. You're like, I'm good at this, man. I've got this. This ain't my first road.
Yeah, when I opened my trailer, this was going back about 12 years now. I spent all the time in the water. I thought we were over it, and I opened my trailer door, and I was like, "Why is my skin color wetsuit in there?"
That's awesome, dude.
And then they just dumped a load of sand on the car park, and then got me to lay on the sand and just hosed me down
Like a beached whale,
like a beach whale in Huddersfield, just like.
That sounds so bleak.
Well, it's because as well on that show on Jamaica Inn, like obviously we're doing pickups on the beach, but they couldn't use warm water because of the steam, so they had to just hose us down with cold water.
You're getting paid to be tortured, basically. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, I loved it.
So a question about Mission Impossibles then, like, how much were you a fan of the franchise yourself? Is it one that you had to start watching because you got the part? Like, how much did you know about the franchise as a whole? I mean, I'm sure we've all seen them, but like, were you into them? Were you familiar with the whole backstory and plots and everything like that?
Yeah, I mean, Yeah, definitely. I think obviously when I saw the film in its entirety at the cast and crew screening, I got all the Easter eggs that were in there, and I recognised the other cast members that were brought back after they were brought back after like 30 years.
Yeah.
Incredible, really. And I used to play the game on PlayStation. Do you remember the game Mission
Yeah.
Impossible? Yeah, I used to play that when I was a kid. So it really is bizarre for me, like really in those moments. Like there was a couple of times, because if you get the best part of any job really is the job offer, and then you start on it, and then work, and then you're locked in and you've got a job to do, so you want to deliver on the job. There's a couple of moments where you go, okay, I watched all of these films when I was a kid, and this is pretty bizarre and wonderful that I'm now in this. But you just have those moments where you kind of just take all of that in and just take a moment to appreciate it, because it's bizarre. I think when the first film came out, what would I have been, six?
What was the first one? 97, 98?
Yeah.
96.
96.
Yeah, I would have been 8 years old.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's insane. It's really weird at the moment. I've accidentally been watching loads of Tom Cruise films, not deliberately.
As you accidentally watch a film,
It's the algorithm.
Well, no, because
you're
I quite
tricked in the VHS player. Whoops.
quite often when I'm busy and stuff, I'll put a film on in the background, like an 80s film that I love, that I know all the words to, and I'll get distracted by it. But it's just to have something on. So like I've watched Cocktail, Rain Man, Jerry Maguire in the last couple of weeks, and I've got Interview with the Vampire and Collateral to watch next. And
Vanilla Sky.
on my TV there, literally now, is Mission Impossible 1. I've just got to the scene where he's about to drop. I'm in the last
Really?
half an hour of the film.
Yeah, weirdly enough, I
Yeah.
watched Vanilla Sky like 2 weeks ago for the first time in like 20 years.
That's
Oh.
mad. That's one of the most expensive scenes ever, isn't it? When they shut down
New York.
Times Square
Yeah, Times Square. Yeah.
for that scene, for Tom Cruise just to stand and look a bit bemused for a minute.
Well, these films are, they definitely they hold up as well. There's brilliant now. Even like watching a film that was released in 1996 and still finding it as entertaining. It's like that's good filmmaking.
But
Yeah.
I feel like, I assume a lot of people do, and us four probably do, is like you have I feel like I've got a connection to Tom Cruise. Like he's in all my favorite films, and he is when you think about the 80s, you can't think about the 80s without Tom Cruise and Top Gun and Cocktail and all those sort of classic things where he was kind of like an angsty 20-year-old and quite an angry. You played a lot of angry people and stuff like that, but there was a comical element to it as well.
Yeah.
And it's like Happy Place, just watching him when he's in his 20s and 30s.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
funny how
And-
full circle you go as well. Like I was just saying, just second one on pause. I'm like, we talk about Mission Impossible when we were kids. I'm just sat there just chatting on our watches like it's a normal thing now. It's just like beep, 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 beep. And it's just like everyone's got one. It's like a run of the mill. It's nothing even special anymore, is it? Whereas
Well,
back in 1998, you were like, look at that, like the old Dick Tracy watch back in the day.
but my theory is that I do believe that Secret Service had that technology way before the public.
100%.
So
All
so
the
it's like-
movies got their things from something, I think.
yeah, because I feel like we are in very in kind of a varied scale. We are the idiots of society, and we are trusted with this amazing technology. Right? Imagine what the government must have. I'm not.
That's what scares me about AI. It's like we're
Yeah,
allowed to
yeah.
cool stuff. What have they got?
Yeah, that's what I mean. And but I do think that this technology would have been available to Secret Service and the rest of it, like 20 years ago, of course.
Well, they also think that art. What is it? Art creates science. So it's like you were saying, like things that are created in movies. So like you'll have like tech people create something for like a James Bond film, and then in real life there'll be like the spies company will be like, can we actually get some of those made? They're like, right.
Well, like Minority Report, Tom Cruise again. That's a thing that people have been trying to develop. That that was touch screen on the displays and all that sort of
What
stuff.
about Star Trek? They were like the weren't they? Hello.
My Motorola flip phone will forever be my
Yeah.
favourite phone.
Oh,
was
was that like
it
the
was the
Matrix? You
coolest.
know, when people used to
Yeah,
go, "Get me out of
yeah,
here!
They had the Nokia
yeah.
phone for the Matrix, didn't they? The little slid down one.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Give me an
Yeah,
exit!" That was so.
yeah, that's it.
So,
was
so
so
Paul, what would be, just to go off the subject for a second, then what was your favorite Tom Cruise movie? If we're excluding Mission Impossibles,
Oh,
what film would you say
Top
is your
Gun.
favorite? And do you have a favorite type of Tom Cruise? Is it that comedy, warm-hearted Jerry Maguire, or is it the tough
I do.
acting,
I really
Few Good
do.
Men?
Yeah, no, I do enjoy the comedy aspect, but you just appreciate like the kind of the classics like Rain Man. For me, is just he's so he's so much more than an action hero. He's he's shown that in many roles. So I think that really just because of it's a very kind of mature performance for someone so young. Um, and yeah, so I think that because I remember watching that really quite young, but it was like Bank Holiday. When you're a kid, it's like whatever's on Bank Holiday you watch, and it was on, and it was one of those films where I was, I really got kind of immersed into it, and storytelling, and then really understanding that these are what an actor is like. These people aren't real; they're playing these characters, and it kind of blew my mind really. So yeah, I think that will always have a place in my memory really.
Yeah. Did
it's
you
a
did you
hard
hear
role.
did you hear how he got the role in Rain Man?
Yeah, he approaching in a restaurant. His sister made him approach him in the restaurant. Yeah.
Yeah, Dustin
Yeah,
Hoffman. Yeah, and he'd only
yeah,
done technically Top Gun and Taps, and he was like, "I want to work with you, boy," and
yeah,
didn't believe it, and he got a call, and that was Rain
yeah.
Man.
He said, I want to work with you," and then he actually got a call, and yeah,
Manifest.
I saw somebody else was talking about it, and it said it's before he was Tom Cruise with a capital T and a capital C. He was just Tom Cruise, not Tom Cruise.
Wow.
And again, like, was it success is opportunity meeting preparation, and obviously the opportunity of him meeting him in the restaurant, being prepared, kind of led to the success of him being in that film. Yeah.
And I think
Wasn't Rain Man one of the first purchase VHSs? I saw something the other day. That was the tip between Blockbuster and buying the video. That was
Oh,
around the
really?
time where buying it became a thing. And there was the guy from Blockbuster was like, and they're going, yeah, it's not going to be a day when people are going to pay X amount for a tape when they can just come and get it for like $2 for 3 nights. And it's in like the very early 90s. I think Rain Man was the first
Oh,
buy
really?
tape that tipped it towards buying rather than renting. It was like a
Wow.
weird documentary I was watching about, like, it was one of these weird like nostalgia ones on Netflix where it shows old toys or old like
Mm.
video games. It was really old it wasn't even Blockbuster, it was some rental company. And they were like, they can pay $2 for 3 days. No one's ever going to want to own the movie. And it's like, I think Rain Man was the one, it sold X amount of copies or something.
I remember when I was a kid, Blockbuster was like, it was just something magical about it. I think it's now a kebab shop in my hometown, which is sad.
It's a chicken place in our place. They
Oh,
like a
really?
knockoff Nando's, yeah.
Right.
It's called
Um,
Frango's.
okay.
knock off
But
men.
I remember like at the weekend watching Super Sunday, the last day of football, with my neighbour, and I just went to the shop and I bought some microwave popcorn. I've not had it in years. Put it in the microwave, and you hear it popping, and then got out of the microwave. And when you open the bag of popcorn, I just felt like I was 6 years old again. So the smell was so specific, and I just had the image of the blue and yellow VHS, with the little the little label saying make sure you rewind it before
Yeah,
you hand it back.
rewind, rewind. Yeah,
Kind rewind. And it's amazing how that smell brought me back, and that love for films as a kid. I'd run in there, and I'd always get obsessed with a film, and if I saw it the next year on the shelf, I'd want to see it again. I'd always watch different films, but I remember Goonies. We had Goonies, and I was transfixed. I wasn't, for me, I wasn't in my front room watching the TV. I was in that world, and being terrified of Sloth, and when he was chained up with the baby root bar, and I was just like, oh, I was like 6 years old, and I was like, wow, this is amazing. And I remember wanting to go on an adventure, but I was like, I lived in Milton Keynes, it wasn't going to happen, you know. But I was just like, wow, like you can make people feel these things. And yeah, it was just really interesting opening that popcorn at the weekend. I rewound 30 years. I went from being 36 to a 6-year-old kid, and I just remember wanting, like, and I think it is a thing as well. People want, like, there are like blockbusters popping back up for like retro experiences and things, and that's just a wonderful. I might do that for my 40th birthday. Just have a blockbuster night or something.
Funnily enough, we went to Tully's Farm horror experience. Don't know if you've ever heard of it, Tully's Farm, where they have all the actors and that.
All right.
Last Halloween, and one of the things, you're walking around this like zombie apocalypse, and one of the things you walk through was an old Blockbuster video store with all the VHS tapes and that on the wall and
Wow.
everything, with like
zombie
zombies
actors.
jumping out. I
Wow.
just googled the Rain Man thing. Apparently, it got a hoo ha because it came out to rent and to buy simultaneously.
Wow.
Ah,
Well, I can imagine in that experience of being in a blockbuster where actors are jumping out dressed as zombies. I'll just still be smiling.
I've never laughed so much in my life. If you ever get a chance to go, Tully's Farm, it's so much fun.
But I've been such a loved up moment in Blockbuster though. I wouldn't care that there's zombies. I'd just be like, this
It was
is
just
amazing.
weird. You just walk through this hospital, then all of a sudden you're in Blockbuster videos.
Taking the video, like, thanks, man. I'll
Thanks,
rewind it.
man.
Don't worry. Thanks.
yeah. That'd be it. Yeah.
But what you're talking about there with like the Goonies and stuff, like I think that was like a weird time in history. Like that, the films that came out then from like the E.T.s and Goonies and stuff like that, like it was a very unique, childlike wonderland of movies, isn't it?
But also like massive like lessons of loss and love and the rest of it for kids. There was no sugarcoating it. Like there was this was the first time where I got choked up listening to a speech, and I must have been 6 years old. Can't have been older than that. It's when they find all of those coins at the bottom of the well that people have been dropping in, and he says, up there it's their time, and down here it's our time. It's our time down here. And I remember just being choked up listening to that little kid. And the kid must have been a couple of years older than me in real life.
Yeah.
But he said that they just speaking with such passion and that dialogue of saying, this is our time. It's our time down here. And that idea of like, not being able to be yourself and then being bullied out and, in the real world, but they're in charge of their own destiny on this adventure for the treasure. And that to be able to affect people like that, and I can't think of maybe I do watch some, I've got nieces and nephews, and I do watch some kid stuff, but I don't think it's just nostalgia. I think Stand By Me, for example, not really a kids film, but kids watched it, and there's no sugarcoating again. Like it's
Stephen King is about finding a dead body and hunting and getting attacked by Kiefer Sutherland.
We would hire these films from Blockbusters with some popcorn and be like, this is great. But it really was, and I think it's sometimes in the modern world where we are, the world is a dangerous place, but there's a lot of protection in place and the rest of it. Those films pass on the messages to kids, that there are dangers and you have to look after yourself, and there are consequences, and there are ways to behave, and moral compasses. And I think those films like Goonies and Stand By Me and all of that kind of era, they were like life lessons, I think.
It's more dangerous,
Stand
more
By Me,
real, isn't it?
when he breaks down in Stand By Me, it's it's mad to think like the tough kid, he's actually traumatized himself, and that messaging in films is so important. I think they nailed that in the 80s.
It's funny.
subconscious.
I was saying to Kevin Drew, the last couple of months I've been going back watching really, really old films that I haven't like watched for ages, and they have such a different meaning now. Like I watched Vanilla Sky for the first time since probably when it came out, early 2000s, and I was like, this is such an amazing movie now. Like because nowadays when we are fully aware that that film was a science fiction film when it came out. But now it's probably not that far from reality, and you're like, oh. And even with Rain Man, you watched it back then, and it was something like, well, what is this, blah blah blah. But now that's like very prolific in society. You're like, oh, now it makes more sense. It's like, okay, now I understand. But I think
Yeah.
watching right back the old films you haven't seen for years and years and years, it's like watching a brand new movie. It's really cool.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing, and you know, I think there's certain films that I'm always gonna return to from time to time, whether it's once a year or once every 5 years, I'll stick it on just because it just blows my E.T. Have you seen the audition tape of the? It's just unreal, isn't it?
Was
For
E.T.
who?
Drew Barrymore? That wasn't her first film, was it?
Yeah,
Was it her?
Barrymore's in it, the little girl, yeah.
Yeah.
But you're right, it's the young lad that plays that audition tape's mental.
Yeah, and it's about not getting in the way of like the imagination. Like that's the saying that when you see talent like that, you just don't get in the way of it, and you just try and like make room for it, and not try and direct too much. You're just trying to kind of keep igniting their imagination, so they keep playing this game.
Yeah.
I like that they used to have a bit of fun with the movies back then, like because E.T. is in Star Wars and Yoda is in E.T. They used to do like little things. Have you never seen that? In E.T., there's a kid dressed like Yoda, and in one of the scenes in Star Wars, there's like this big like grand hall, and there's one of the little things is like full of little E.T.s.
I love that.
Yeah,
They used to have little fun bits like that, didn't they?
Little Easter eggs. Yeah, it's good.
I was just thinking when you were talking, I mean, this is a bit random, but I mean, that's kind of what I do. But I was thinking of like the elephant graveyard in The Lion King.
Yeah.
Reminded me of the idea that it's like there's places you go, there's places you don't go. And it's like in life when you're a kid, there's kind of like little kind of mini elephant graveyards. But yet as a kid, like you're saying, you go on those adventures and you don't realize what's going to kind of unfold. You're like, shouldn't really be here.
Yeah.
But it's that kind of delusional kind of pride and wanting to be like, I can do this. I don't have to listen to, people that are older than me or my parents or whatever. And when they're a bit more defiant, and then, they get lost and then shit unfolds, and you're like,
then you get a punch at 10 miles from home, and then you're like, shit.
yeah.
They told me not to leave the estate.
Yeah.
And now I'm the other side of the city. Yeah.
That's it, man. That's it.
Yeah.
So just to bring it back a little bit more to Mission Impossible again, I've got a couple of questions for you, and then I thought I've got a little, not quite a quiz, a little quiz. I'll quiz all of you, and it's got a few facts that I've kind of turned as a question. But before we go into that, a couple of things I wanted to know from you. First of all, I want you to show me what you've got on your shelf before we go into the questions, because what you showed us before we started recording.
The Iron Man medals. Oh no, that's just my Iron Man medals. Don't worry about them.
All right, he's just showing off.
He was also Iron Man in one of the unseen movies.
No,
not a literal Iron Man.
Jewels from Thanos's glove that you just got on there.
Just the world's hardest triathlon. Don't worry about it.
You've done 3 times, just casually.
So this was what the Marines had on their dry suits in the film.
Awesome.
And McHugh gave us one each as a little wrap present. And if you can see there.
That's really cool. The level of detail of that for something that probably most people wouldn't even notice is insane in a movie.
Was it on the was it on the shoulder?
On the shoulder, on the shoulder.
Yeah, man.
And the Latin there that you can see. Don't ask me to pronounce it, but we'll work it out, or we'll figure it out, which is what was said on the film, because we always will figure it out to make it the best film properly, but the best film possible.
Amazing. That's so cool. That's better than nicking anything from set. What are you going to nick from a submarine? A
Yeah,
cup of
Legit,
water.
it's legit.
If you pan
Yeah.
over that way, Paul's got like several.
yeah, yeah.
Got a full set. Tom Cruise is in a cage just off camera.
Got a little tub and just got a little bit of the water from set, and he's kept.
Yeah,
This is from the set, man.
it's a little bit of stale water just in the corner. Yeah.
I was going to say, like, irrelevant from your role in the film, which obviously we were super excited to see. We loved it. It got us part. You know, we were all chatting about it. But apart from that, when you watched the film, what was your favorite part of the film? The favorite scene, not including your section. You know, was it the stunts or the emotional part or a chase scene, or what was the bit that you were like, yeah, that's cool?
So well, I mean, just him filming himself doing the stunt on the plane. It's crazy. He's operating the camera, which is crazy, whilst controlling the plane on the wing and the rest of it.
The other guy was doing his own stunts as well, wasn't he? And they were wearing
Yeah,
green suits while they were flying it.
Yeah,
To
mate,
pretend there
all
was
of
no one
that. So
there.
that blew my mind because that was just incredible. Performance wise, Simon Pegg as a dramatic actor is just, you know, I want to see more of it because he's incredible.
He's always good, isn't he? And
Yeah,
he's really pushes it. He's
really great. He's really great. So I did really enjoy that. And then obviously I'm guessing if people are listening to this podcast, they've seen the film. But the parachute jump at the end, where, you know, they got a round of applause at both the cast and crew screening and the premiere, and I know it got a round of applause in all the premieres. And my great aunt, bless her, she went to visit my second. So I've got a second cousin that's the same age as me, but I've got a great aunt that was a lot younger than my grandma. So like, yeah. Anyway, that's irrelevant. He's my second cousin. She went over to LA to see him last week, and they went to theatre in LA to watch it. And she said that everybody in the theatre was like just cheering and applauding at certain moments in the film. And she said it was a incredible thing to see, you know, people still like turning up and filling out movie theatres and cinemas because there was a worry that, you know, it was dying. And the moment where the parachute sets on fire, it's the
Not instantly as
realization.
well. You just don't see it
Yeah,
coming, do you?
yeah. It's just the realization that, you know, that is a human being willingly setting the parachute on fire, to then set the reserve off at the last possible moment, and that got a round of applause. Like as soon as it went up in flames, it was a gasp, and then people were just like, you know, for me, that was like that to make people feel that. And so that was, I'd say that, and the airplane sequence for me was just incredible. I was just watching it in awe. But obviously being in the tank, I know what it took to film, you know, that. I had an insight in what it was like to film that. I wasn't actually, you know, doing the stuff that Tom did, which was even more insane, to put it frankly. Was just incredible to see that, because I could feel the audience around me, like almost feeling like they were trying to catch their breath watching it.
Yeah.
Like just going past that propeller, just missing it.
Oh yeah, yeah.
He's got to breathe. You know when he's going through like the claustrophobic bit, and he gets stuck, and you realize he has to take off his oxygen tank to go through, and you're like, he's already been holding his breath for about 5 minutes.
You wonder how far they're going to go, because you know they're lifting the stakes up by having, oh, there's a fuck up here, so we can't do this bit. So but he's going to escape, and then they add another mistake, then another mistake, then another mistake. He's like, how is this guy so unlucky yet still scrapes through? It's so insane.
I've got to be honest, there was a bit that reminded me of Finding Nemo in a weird way. Like, you know, when he's sort of just floating about on his own, and then like you turn and the massive ship's there. Like, you know, when that shark comes in Finding Nemo, it's just a massive thing.
You just realise it was when the back of the sub opens and you just see the sub on the tail, and you're just like, whoa. Because for me, the ocean is a incredibly scary place in the sense of like
Yes.
we've barely scratched the surface of it. We've probably explored more of space than we have of the ocean, and there's going to be things down there that we've never laid our eyes on. So it's incredible, really. It really is an incredible unknown, going into the unknown, and I think the audience kind of felt that as they drop out the back of the submarine with Ethan, you know.
What about when he jumps out of the helicopter though? Because they're like, "Oh, we're getting chased by those people." He's like, "I gotta go," and he just runs. He does his famous run out of the helicopter into the water, and that's when I think your characters have a go at him and saying, "Well, what are we going to do if we didn't turn up?" Like, well, the mission would end there pretty much.
End credits.
Yeah. So
that submarine scene was everyone in the cinema yesterday. There wasn't a peep when that whole scene was on, and it's quite a long scene. But when it was like turning, like you've never seen anything like it. It was quite like hypnotizing to watch it. You're like, oh, is it gonna? Is it? Oh no,
it's constant though. Like
and
even
then it
though
does. It's like whoa. You like
don't
don't know where to
it wasn't
look.
fast paced, but it was slow build up. It was like it was.
And when you went to the torpedo thing and it was full, engaged, I'm afraid. Try another one.
When they're falling on him and he's having to kind of swim through, it
It's
reminded
really
me of
cool.
like James Bond stuff as well, where like the things are falling through and he's trying to get.
Did
was
anyone
very
else?
Bondy, wasn't it? Yeah, it was cool.
Did anyone else feel weird when it like the opening scenes when it does that, when it's the entity speaking, and then later on in the tank it does that as well? It feels like the entire cinema's moving. It was such a subtle. Do you know what I mean? The bit
it was cool.
It just twists slightly.
Yeah.
That put me off kilter. It was really weird.
Yeah,
incredible filmmaking, and you know, McHugh would be in there in his wetsuit with his waterproof monitor.
Oh wow!
In the water, yeah.
McHugh said on an interview recently that he would love to be an underwater cameraman. They employed a guy to do the underwater scenes, the one camera guy, and his only job in life is to be filming things underwater. He's like, so when you're finished this, you're just going to stay in the tank and another crew's going to come to do something different. He's like, yeah, that's my job.
He's a man.
So cool.
He's constantly got shriveled hands, I bet.
Yeah. it's incredible to watch and yeah, proper filmmaking. You know, if they, you know, the CGI, you could, so many films would have just CGI and all that. No, they're in there. Tom's in there with all this stuff falling and rotating, and you know, all the practice and the preparation that takes. That's all part of proper filmmaking, and they're keeping that art form alive, which I think is important.
Yeah. There's no risk, there's no jeopardy when you've got CGI. It doesn't. There's no stakes. It doesn't matter. It doesn't. It's entertaining, but it's not engaging.
I didn't even really massively notice the CGI. For all I know, they could have been like not real missiles, obviously, but physical things. They don't look CGI to me.
That's what I'm saying. They're not.
No, there isn't.
They're not. No,
it's
so good. No point in the film did I think that. I know there probably was an element of it somewhere.
No, there's zero. They use a bit of VFX to remove some wires and stuff occasionally.
Yeah. Amazing.
He's doing everything.
It did make me laugh. I know it wasn't meant to be funny, but like my inner comedy fan, like the fact that when he got in the plane, then realised that the front thing didn't do anything. So he's like,
that was brilliant.
For fuck's sake.
That was funny.
Get in the back.
And those moments like where, you know, you just want to get the stunt done, he's still got to perform.
Yeah.
Still got to perform, operate the camera, give those moments for the edit, make sure he's given enough variation so they've got stuff to play with in the edit, whilst controlling a plane going through crazily like low moments, high moments, narrow moments. And I was just say, like, you know, back to that moment of the submarine rolling, I can assure you that was Tom in there with actual replica missiles falling, and they had them clipped up, released at certain points. He had to learn how they fall, when they fall, which one falls at what point, so that he didn't die. Like it's insane, and it's like it's proper filmmaking. It's like it would and also, you know, if everything's always done with CGI, you're basically not watching a live action, are you? You're watching an animation.
Wow. But James made a good point as well about airplane. Like you're saying, Paul. Like he's not only got to do these stunts, he's got to perform, and then he thinks, let's add a bit of slapstick in there just for a bit of. Just for a bit of levity.
Isn't it, really?
It was brilliant.
Yeah.
I watched behind the scenes on that. Like he had to hit when it was turning and stuff, he had to hit a certain speed at a certain angle so that he hit zero gravity. So he was literally floating between the two wings at one point, and he's going 140 miles an hour and he couldn't breathe. So he had to turn his head down so he could take an occasional gasp to continue doing the scene. But I thought the scariest bit was not even the turning around; it was the bit when he just pulls the joystick up and it goes boom, and it just shoots up to the fucking space, and you're like, holy shit. Everything about that terrified me. And we've all seen all the behind the scenes, and we've seen loads of clips in the trailer, but nothing prepares you for the actual scene in the film.
You know when they're fighting and the baddie's such an asshole, you really wanted to get his comeuppance, and he just snaps his arm. That's it. I was like, oh, and it's like, shh. And he's just like,
got one arm to hold on after that.
He's holding on to his broken arm at one point, and the guy's like,
he's trying to stab Tom through the fucking
that was
thing. Knife marks through the machine. Unbelievable. I did think I don't know what you guys thought. I got caught offhand getting emotional at one scene. I did not expect this film to have emotional things apart from it being the final film, so there might be a few of those sort of things, but the biggest one that hit me, even though Simon Pegg was amazing, that was still tense because there was a bomb to go off, so it wasn't as emotional. But
Vin Rhames,
no, not even that. Well, that was it was, but it was the very end with Shea Wingham, who is the son of John Voight from the first film. Yeah, when he shakes his hand at the end. He finally believes him, because all the way through Dead Reckoning, he's like, he's kind of a good guy, but we need to get him because he's kind of not. He can't quite place him, and at the very end, he finally believes him. I was like,
but it's done in such a clever way though, because the gun, he's holding the gun as he puts it away, because you're like, because he says when the job's done, I'll finish this, as in he's gonna end him, and then he puts his hand. Isn't
it amazing? Like I always say, like, when I'm on projects, can it be delivered? If there's dialogue that can be lost, if you can tell the story without the dialogue, then it's a really well written thing. And that's exactly that moment, like just with that handshake and the rest of, you just go, wow, okay, like you don't need any dialogue there. So it's a beautiful moment.
A real quick moment as well. Sorry, the plant and payoff that I thought was genius, because I'm sure that Tom probably looks over the script or is probably even involved in the script. But a beautiful plant and payoff is the bit where they talk about timing, and when the girl Haley
Atwell.
Yeah, when she does a really clever moment, and he goes, "I didn't even see you get that gun," and then he says something like, "It's all about timing," and that moment where it's building up towards the end, and he says, "You're going to need to do it because it's about timing." And they talk about the blink of an eye. And I got emotional, man, when she grabs the kind of stick for the entity.
Oh, that whole...
and it's like a little glowworm. Mate, I imagine the audience when it was like packed out, when you saw it with everyone there going, almost like that moment going...
Yeah, that was it. It was an audible gasp and then a round of applause. It was, and those moments are very rare.
Yeah,
when you're in a packed cinema, and you get you get goosebumps.
Yeah,
and you're like, it leads up to that moment. And the last time that happened was it Dark Knight? I went to see the Midnight. Was it with you?
Oh, maybe you did. Yeah.
Did we went after work one night, like midnight.
Yeah.
And we watched Batman. And it was where the bridge lights up, and then the Batman sign in fire.
Oh yeah.
Somebody in the audience just went, "Yeah, baby!"
Woo!
And the audience was just like, "Yeah, that's pretty cool, man. That's pretty cool." But that was the last time, and that would have been like 15 years ago.
Well, I got the goosebumps on that bit. When you got Gary Oldman narrating to his son about he's not the hero we need yet, so we will chase him because that's what he is. He's a Dark Knight. And as he goes up the ramp, dude, of the bridge going through the thing, and it cuts to black, and everyone goes,
yeah. And I think that moment building up to where they capture it.
It's so.
But also the sound design in that moment is just so good.
Yeah,
it's so good because it's like tense, building up, silence.
Yeah.
And you can literally hear a pin drop, and it's like, oh my word! And that's allowing the audience a moment to just feel the weight of that.
Yeah.
You know.
But also the tension, right? Because you were saying about with the green light, because they're like, now Tom's character Ethan just needs to have that thing dangling from the baddie guy's neck, and you're thinking, how the f is he going to do that? And he's flying on a parachute that's on fire while he's trying to figure it out in midair, and they're like, it's never going to happen.
Again,
Trying to load a Game Boy game at 30,000 feet.
They're just waiting
exactly.
for that red light to go green. And I think you're right. I think that's the beautiful thing that builds it up, because everything seems so hard to achieve, which is what you want in a Mission Impossible movie. It's not called Mission Kind of Difficult. It's like Mission Impossible. And
Mission
when
faff.
that happens, it like you said, it just builds and builds to that climactic kind of moment. Like,
I will say one thing I didn't notice, and I'm probably a bit slow to the uptake. I didn't realise that the older guy with the beard was the bloke from the first movie where he drops the knife as he comes down.
I did need the reminder.
I
on
didn't
the
twig when they
flashback.
showed it, and when he gave him the knife as well. I was like, one, he hasn't kept that knife the whole time, but I was like, he's like, you're the one. It reminded me of Top Gun. You know when he does the MiG and Charlie goes, so you're the one.
Oh yeah. Oh, maybe that was deliberate of a sentence then.
I reckon if you watch back loads, I reckon there's loads of Easter eggs. Like, 'cause he is dressed a bit like Maverick at one point, isn't he? And I'm like, when that woman's talking to him, I'm like, do you know who you're talking to? That's that's Maverick right there.
Yeah, it's just like those moments and those those Easter eggs for the people that watched all the films. Like, they were getting real recognition in the cinemas, which was lovely to see, and especially for those actors' careers as well, because it's going, that we remember you 30 years on. Like, it's just for me, it's to be able to hold an audience over 8 films and to such a high standard, and for everyone to be so invested. It's a real achievement for Tom and McHugh. Being involved with it for so long.
Well, it's a legacy. It's a legacy franchise, and the rarest thing about a franchise is that it gets better as it continues. Do you know what I mean? Because it's completely every single one, and I think Tom Cruise was saying that in an interview, that he's like, I want the scripts to be, and they just keep elevating and elevating and elevating and elevating, and it's like, how can you keep pushing the envelope? And they really do, man.
Well, I think it's clear that Tom wouldn't do anything if he's not going to try and outdo himself.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing as well, like you're saying, if you look at the stunts, because I think when they were doing a build up to the release of the Final Reckoning, they were showing all the crazy things that Tom Cruise does. So, in Ghost Recon or Ghost Recall, when he's on one of the highest buildings in the world and doing the stunt, but then he's like, well, to make it more exciting, why don't one of my magnetic gloves stops charging? You're like, what? So then he's doing it one-handed, and he's like all the way in midair, and it's just like, he's so clever at creating the tension the audience needs for the suspense and the concern for Ethan. That's the one thing I think they've nailed with Mission Impossible, is that the threat of him not surviving is so plausible, because the obstacles are so clear, and it's always so like you're gripping onto something in the cinema. I'm surprised I didn't damage the chair in front of me in half the stuff that was happening in the Final Reckoning. You're
right. It's like the stunt's not good enough, because the stunt's got to have something going wrong with it.
Yeah, that's
a hit mishap plus something else that added more jeopardy.
But that's again the brilliant acting. He has to create the mishap. So he knows everything so well, but the mishap is so realistic in what he's doing that, you can imagine McEwen like watching, going, "Wait, has something happened?" He's like, "No, he's just a good actor. Don't worry, it's just part of it." You're like, oh.
That's the danger, isn't it? Having the like Paul was saying,
should be having
hand
kittens
signals are necessary for safety.
Because when you're watching playback, you'd be like, "Wait, is that? Oh no, that's supposed to happen. Wait, did something go wrong with the stunt? No, it's just he's a great actor." You'd be like, "Fuck."
It's just I'd say like it's a real privilege to be sat in the cinema, packed full of people, watching like the submarine stuff, knowing that I've been there for that bit of the film, and just I was watching the film obviously, but like I was just getting a feel for the audience around me, and it was a real privilege to be there, and just like that moment when you go, wow, like they're really on board with this, like and they're getting it, and they're gripped, and it's in that moment I was just like, this is it's just an honor, really, like to feel that audience just so engaged and, like you say, gripping and gasping, and yeah, it was great.
But dude, it's
You
also an
couldn't
honor
look away
because,
from it, could you?
mate, it's also an honor because you technically save Ethan Hunt as well. Your gang of people.
Well, one
So
of them
that,
also tries to kill him, so that means Paul's even more important.
well, one of them does, yeah. But yeah. It's a bit of a bittersweet. But the whole point of it's not like you're a character that says, "Oh, here's something for you. See you later." It's like, no, we've saved him from the depths of the ocean, and then we help him continue the mission. So it's like that's like wow. Like talk about pass the baton on to Ethan Hunt and be like, "Off you go, dude." You're like,
Yeah. It's no, it's just, it was a cool part of the film to be part of, to turn up and say, that you're playing a special Marine, and you're going to be in this part of the sub, and it's called the Ohio, and you're doing this, and you're going to help with this, and this is the dive suit, and we've designed it by this person, and this is what it does, and this is the information you need to get across, and and you just felt very welcome, because obviously the Mission Impossible family has been together for many years, 7 years, 5 years for this, a long time for these two films because
Yeah.
of COVID and the two strikes. I think it was 7 years in total.
Made it.
And for to just be welcomed in, like, part of the family. My first day on set, when I was just getting my hair cut and just like a bit of styling for the role. McHugh invites me down to set. I see the gimbal, I see the water tank, I see everything they've been working on. He introduces me to everyone. This is Paul. He's playing Shirley. This is and you're meeting everybody, and to feel so welcomed, and then the camaraderie, and Tom making you feel so involved. That's why, because he wanted to make it feel like the Marines were this kind of unit that help him and then push him back out on his way. And he helps to achieve that as an actor by making us feel involved and comfortable and part of something.
Yeah.
It's very hard to achieve that if you just turn up and shoot it and leave.
Yeah. It was like a little pit stop, isn't it? It's like it's a pit stop for him. It's it's just so good, dude. So
It's like we're going to give you your best possible chance. See ya. Like,
To be fair, if you think about it, you are the start of Mission Impossible, that film, because prior to that, he's just trying to get to the start of starting his mission. And when he meets you, that is the beginning of the actual mission. The bit before is just the precursor of him getting to start the process. So the first
Actually,
part of the
good
mission
point.
is going underwater, and then the airplane. So you are the beginning of his actual mission.
The funny thing you said that, the last thing that my character says to him as I tap him on the shoulder is "good luck."
Yeah.
So I gave a few options. I gave a few options of that as well, as in, like, it was a statement. It was like a nervous good luck. Just a lot of variations so they could pick whatever fit the mood of the scene at the time. But yeah, it was it's funny to think like that's you equipped Ethan Hunt, just helping him with his mission. It's cool, isn't it?
There was one thing, I probably shouldn't admit this. But when you sort of think of something in your head, you can't stop laughing at it.
Yeah.
Like through the film, it was probably at the most serious part of the film as well. But when you were in that, like, when he pops up and he gets in that cryo chamber or the decompression chamber, and he wakes up in it, and his girlfriend's there, and they're like hugging and do all this. I just turned to my mate, was like, "Can you imagine if the mask went whoop?" And it was Benji underneath there. Just Simon Pegg. Hello. I couldn't stop thinking about it for the whole film. I was like, how funny would that have been?
I love those moments of, like, the mask reveal. That's such a iconic moment of Mission Impossible franchise, and
you've almost got your No Way Home thing though, because the famous thing where was it Andrew Garfield does that thing and the whole cinema loses their minds. You've got your kind of now famous reveal.
Famous reveal. I mean, it's lovely because this is the first time my nieces are able to see me in anything.
Yeah,
because there's a 12A, so my sisters are taking them because they're 11 and 8, and it's soon to be 9. There's a 12A. They can't watch Peaky Blinders. They can't watch The Witcher. Like all of the stuff that I'm in is very violent and very gory.
Yeah.
It's like we can watch Uncle Paul in this, and they've been telling everyone at school that they're watching this evening.
Oh,
And you know, it's going to for them like it's just they didn't really understand what Uncle Paul does because they've not been able to see any of it. So now they get to
and
see
now they
me
think he's a Marine.
Yeah, now they're going to think that they're going to think I'm a Marine, and they're going to say, why is he speaking with that accent?
yeah.
But no, it's a lovely thing because I like to try and I want to try and inspire my nieces and nephews and make them proud. And this is the first time they get to see me in something, so I'm buzzing about that.
Dude, that's beautiful, man.
It's quiz time! Let the games begin.
But before we go, I've got a few little quizzy questions, little fun ones, nothing detailed or too difficult, but just for a bit of fun. I found a fact today, and I noticed it in the film, and then completely forgot about it instantly, and I realised it should have stood out. But it's only for the American viewers would have not noticed it. British ones would have, especially Paul and Drew, who lived in London. Can anyone remember where the deliberate fault was in the London scenes? There's something that appears in London that doesn't exist in real life.
I should know
I
this.
say, if you come out with Mission Impossible 2 questions, that's one of my favourite films of all time. So
It's
I've
a
got you
thing.
there.
It's not an action. It's not what someone does. It's a landmark.
Something wrong.
It's
Something that doesn't appear in London.
It's not exists.
Doesn't exist.
Doesn't exist.
That flew over my head.
I was thinking the tunnels where he meets Vin Rames' character.
It's when he comes out of Trafalgar Square tube station.
Oh,
that's not a tube station.
Yeah.
To get to Trafalgar Square, you go to Charing Cross or Embankment or Leicester
Good
Square.
Point.
That's actually the public toilets everyone's coming out of.
Yeah,
in real life.
That's a whole other movie.
Makes a different film, doesn't it?
Wow.
George Michael, the biopic.
Okay, here's another one. Who are the 2 actors that are in all 8 Mission Impossible movies?
Well, obviously.
Well, apart from Tom Cruise.
That's
Tom Cruise. Is the one who plays Luther.
Vince Rames.
He's not the one who plays Luther,
Rames. Vin Rames.
I was going to say,
I don't know his real name. Luther.
Yeah, Vin Rames. Yeah.
He's never been in anything else. It's only Mission Impossible.
What an incredible actor! I was able to watch as well. Invite down to set just to watch them work.
What? No way! What for that?
Really?
That bit when they're disarming the bomb?
No. When he's laying on the bed, like in the flashback moment.
Oh yeah.
And Ethan sat next to him in the bed. And he's got all the tubes coming out and everything. And I was just like watching the monitor, just like, wow, this is great. And they invited me down to watch, and I was like, great, I wasn't needed for the rest of the day, but I'm just going to sit here and watch it.
Dude, you're watching Marcellus Wallace, man. That's like a Tarantino link too. You're like,
that leads to my next question, Drew. Vin Rames, which film did he do first? Pulp Fiction or Mission Impossible 1?
Oh, I'm wondering if it's
Pulp Fiction.
I think it's Mission Impossible because it would have been filmed before, because I think
no, when released, 97. It's not going to nuance. When was it released?
When did he get the job offer?
What do they call him?
Yeah, you can't do it by that. Right, so James is going Pulp, Drew's going Mission, down to Paul. What are you going?
I'm going to say, I think it's Pulp Fiction quite easily, no?
Yeah, well done. Yeah. 1994, Mission Impossible was 96. But like I said, I've just got Mission Impossible 1 on at the moment, and it's basically Marcel. He's wearing the same sort of clothes Marcellus Wallace wears as well. He's got this like white jacket shirt thing. I'm like,
does he have the plaster on?
And he's got the earring and stuff, I'm sure, as well. He just looks like Marcellus Wallace. Okay, next one. Tom is currently 62. How old? This is maths one. I should have done the date before. These are quick. Bollocks. Tom 62. How old was he in Mission Impossible 1?
We just
When
said
he
it was
filmed
95, didn't you, or 96? So who's good at maths?
First one to get it right.
I need
When
a
he filmed
calculator.
it,
26,
No, when it was released.
23, 26.
Oh yeah, I forgot. James is the
Wait,
worst.
32.
Ugh.
I'm going to say 33.
32.
Paul wins.
Go on.
Okay, not a trick question, but it's what was the name of Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning? What was it previously called before they changed the name? It was not going to be called The Final Reckoning.
Well, if anything, Paul should probably know this rather than
Yeah.
us, bearing in mind he's in it.
Dead
I'm
Reckoning.
going to go with Dead Reckoning Part 2.
Okay,
That's
that
a
was
cop
fair.
out if it is.
It is. That's what it's going to be called. The first one was called Part 1, James.
I just watched them. I don't know what the name of the film is.
Okay, Paul already gave a bit of an explanation to this because of writer strikes and COVID and stuff like that. But there was a literal production thing that is the answer to this. So, what prevented the filming of 7 and 8 back to back? They were meant to be filming Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning and The Final Reckoning at the same time, back to back.
So that won't be COVID then.
What was the main issue, film-wise, that prevented that?
Well, yeah, it must have been COVID then. But
No,
you just said the last one
film-wise,
took like 5 years.
Another film happened.
I thought he injured his foot. No.
Another film happened. What was Tom
Another
Cruise
film
in? Top Gun
happened.
2.
Top Gun Maverick.
Yeah.
I'll take Paul's answer because he answered correctly.
Shut up.
Top Gun Part 2.
Yeah.
Part 2.
Nice.
Which actor has Tom publicly stated he wants to work with next,
Paul Bullion.
and why? It's been in the news and on the red carpet.
Is it someone young?
No. It's Michael B. Jordan.
Jordan.
Michael Basketball Jordan.
Yeah. And what's the reason why?
Because Michael B. Jordan's cool.
Because you loved him in Sinners?
Yeah, basically.
He just seems like a nice guy as well, doesn't he?
Because
Sinners
Tom Cruise doesn't publicly take photos of him at every cinema, every film, but he took a picture of him having his ticket stub at Sinners, saying he really loved it.
He was loving that prep show, wasn't he?
And then Michael B. Jordan came to the Mission Impossible.
Oh yeah, they hugged each other, man. Yeah, it was a beautiful thing.
The same premiere that Paul Bullion was at, and gave him a little hug and supported Tom Cruise back. And he said, "Then I want to work with you next."
Paul, did you get to hug Michael B. Jordan as well, though?
No, I didn't get to hug him.
Okay.
I did get to see Sinners though, and it's brilliant.
Yeah,
big fan of Sinners. Loved the music, and I loved how all the vampires were like kind of Irish folk singers. Really like, because I love that kind of music, and it was just like it was really brilliant, like a great kind of design choice. To have the evil, the kind of sinister side all singing Irish folk.
I've been listening to the soundtrack for real. It's genuinely brilliant.
Beautiful, isn't it? It's really good.
Yeah.
Really good.
How many... Right, there's two answers. Well, there's not two answers to this. There's one answer, but the internet hasn't caught up yet with Tom Cruise's actual words. How many films has Tom Cruise currently got in pre-production?
4.
8.
We got 4. We got 8.
Who do
I'm
we
going to cut
appreciate?
in the middle and say 6.
Okay, Drew is bang on it. 8. 8.
Is there an Edge of Tomorrow 2 coming out by any chance?
It's only because when Paul said of his work ethic, I was like, he's not going to just do. I mean, he's Cruise, man. He's going to just.
He's got a film called Deeper. No plot. He has got Top Gun 3. It's official.
Okay. Valid.
Heard it here first. They've got Live, Die, Repeat, and Repeat is the new film. That's
genius.
Well, no, yeah, that's because Edge of Tomorrow was American term. Then it got called Live, Die, Repeat. Then they changed their mind. They changed their mind again.
Closer to the Edge of Tomorrow.
And there's another one called, it's an untitled Tom Cruise SpaceX project, and he's been talking about going to space for a while. There's a new film called The Gauntlet, with Scarlett Johansson in it.
Okay.
It's corrupt cops, that type of stuff. So that might be a more dramatic role for him. There's one called Broadsword, which has got Henry Cavill and Marion Cotillard in.
Henry
And
Cavill loves the sword.
That's a World War II.
They worked with each other
Probably
on
no
Mission
swords
Impossible
then.
as well.
Yeah, Fallout.
Yeah.
Oh, that was when Henry
And-
Cavill punched his moustache in, wasn't
He does the cool.
And you've got the Alejandro Inarritu film as well with Jesse Plemons, John Goodman, Riz Ahmed, etc., etc., etc. And there's an 8th film which is not on IMDb, but Tom Cruise said this week he's got 8. So who knows what the other one is?
And would you know what? I've got a self-tape request, so.
Oh.
So just putting it into comparison there.
We'll leave that lingering there. We'll have Paul back on again soon to tell us about his next Tom Cruise role.
We'll have Paul back on to tell us about how his self-tape went.
Amazing, Paul. Thank you so much for joining us again. You are super cool and really appreciate you hanging out with us.
Always good to discuss film, and I'm glad that you enjoyed the film and that you got so much from it.
Epic, man. Epic.
You
Loved it.
You ledge.
Amazing.
This has been Rage Whale. Thanks for hanging out with us. We hope you had a whale of a time.
Oh, wait. Just before you head off to listen to another one of our episodes, I'm not going to ask you to give us a follow and a 5-star review or follow our social media such as Instagram and TikTok and YouTube, although that is your choice. But we would like to tell you about a new website we have called ragewhale.tmill.com, where you can get some merchandise to support us. Hoodies, t-shirts and mugs. There is a link here and on our social media profiles. Thank you so much for listening again. See you next time.